Hi, my name is Dong and I'm an animator working in the Japanese animation industry. And today, I want to talk about Genga or tie-down animation. Genga is that important intermediate step between rough animation and cleanup animation. It's the step where we take our acting and movement made in the rough stages and get our character tighter on model and looking like how they should be before they get sent to be cleaned up and in between. I started my career in animation here with Genga animation, also known as second key animation or Daini Genga. And I also recommend all aspiring animators that want to work in the animation industry as well get started there as well. I recommend you take a look at my introduction to Genga video from a couple of years ago if this is the first time you are hearing the term, but otherwise I'll go through some tips and advice on drawing industry quality Genga, and at the end I'll give you some further tips on getting work in the industry if that is your goal. Here's the scene I animated a couple years ago on the Decadence anime. In this scene, the heroine, Natsume, is reacting to some lines said off screen by her friend. With Genga, you will often get a folder like this. It has a timesheet of the scene, and this is important to figuring out the timing of the animation. There are compositing instructions, the timing of the dialogue, and many other things in here. Then there are the drawings I did for the original rough layout and my rough animation. You can tell these are the roughs because of the layout template that these are drawn on. In my original animation, layers A to E are all background mob characters, while Natsume occupies the F layer. On these red sheets of paper, we have the episode director's drawovers. Here he indicated that he wanted some changes to how the characters were positioned and where they were facing. Then on the yellow sheet of paper is the Sakuga director's drawovers. Here they put the drawing on model. And on the green paper is the sole Sakuga director's drawover. The sole Sakuga director is usually also the character designer, and they generally put the Sakuga's director's drawings further on model. I'll leave a link for this folder in the description so you can use it to practice with. Today, let's draw the Genga for this scene. For simplicity, we'll just draw layer F with Natsume. Usually, the studio will provide you with a Genga template, but you can also use mine if you would like. I'll just leave this in the folder. Alright, drag the template into your software of choice, which is Clip Studio Paint for me. And also drag in the layout, which is also known as Genzu. Set the layout template to multiply if you have it on top. Also, double check that the pegos for the layout on the top are aligned properly. Create a new timeline, and looking back at the timesheet, this scene is 78 frames long, and I'll set the length there. Let's create a new animation folder, and we'll call it F for the F layer. Create a new animation cell, and let's drag the new layer that cell is on into a folder to organize it. And then let's go back to the timeline and create 4 new cells to match the amount of drawings we have in our rough animation. Then let's drag our files into our folders. The roughs for F1 goes in the 1 folder, F2 goes into 2, F3 goes into 3. The yellow Sakuga director drawovers go over the original rough drawings, and the green drawovers go over that. F4 goes to 4, and F5 goes to 5. And again with the yellow and green drawovers. Take some time to ensure that every drawing has their pegos aligned with the Genga template. Once everything is in, we can drag the drawings around and match the timing to what we have in our timesheet. Alright, let's start drawing. Starting with F3, as that seems to be the main drawing in this scene. We can hide everything except the sole Sakuga director's drawings, lower its opacity, and we can draw over it. When drawing Genga, it looks like I'm just tracing the director's drawings, but that is often a beginner's misconception. Doing a route trace means you are doing something wrong, as you'll never be able to capture the nuance of the original line work. When drawing Genga, you need to understand why certain lines are drawn the way they are, and redraw them while maintaining that nuance. Use weighted lines to give the drawing a feeling of depth, and for areas such as the eyes, Take your time so you can protect the feeling of your director's drawings. Natsume here has a troubled expression in this scene, and the whole scene breaks if that expression changes even slightly during the Genga process. Think of the process as picking up the line instead of just tracing it. And let's pick up the color separation lines as well on a separate layer. Once we have drawn everything from the Sakuga director, next is the Sakuga director's drawover on the yellow. The Sakuga director's drawovers are on the rougher side, and when drawing, you should reference the model sheet of the characters to make sure that everything is drawn on model. You can find model sheets of Natsume on the official Decadence website. And once again, once we are finished, let's add the color separation lines on a separate layer. These were pretty full drawovers, so there isn't really anything left to pick up from the original drawing. We can label our drawing, copy over the timing diagram, and let's move on. Next, we do the same for F5, since it has the corrections already done for it. One thing that I see newer animators struggle with is getting their lines clean enough. While Genga is still technically part of rough animation, it is important to keep the drawings relatively clean, as the Doga animator will need to trace these drawings later. Try and practice drawing smooth, long curves. Use your whole arm to draw instead of your wrists, and do quick sweeping movements. If your lines are wiggling when it should be relatively straight, that is an issue. Poor line quality can lead to you not getting more work in the future, so watch out. If you are really having problems getting long, smooth lines, try using the line or curve tool of your software. Clip Studio Paint has the curve tool where you click on the starting point, drag it to the end point, release, and adjust the curve. You can use it to create perfect lines and is great for things such as hair strands and other things. It does look quite mechanical though, and it might be missing some of the warmth of a hand-drawn line, so I personally don't use it too much. Because our drawings still need to work when they are moving, we need to flip between our drawings often. To make flipping between F3 and F5 easier, I'll expose the F3 drawing next to our F5 drawing temporarily on the timeline. Flip between our drawings to make sure that none of our volumes are changing drastically and all the forms make sense. Moving on, let's draw F1 next. We don't have a drawover for it, so we need to reference the next closest drawing, which is F3. I'll expose F3 in the timeline next to F1. Flip through them and use the onion skin tool when necessary. We want to use F3 as the model sheet to draw the F1 pose essentially. So make sure that things such as the contour of the face, the width of the neck, the design of the body all stay consistent between the drawings. We pretty much have to interpolate the F1 drawing from the other drawings. Since the F1 and F3 drawings are essentially in extremely similar poses, we can use Clip Studio Paint's light table feature to speed up the drawing. Make sure that the cell-specific light table option is enabled in the Animation Cell tab on top, and drag the F3 folder to that space at the bottom. Which is selected, and also the light table tool selected, we can adjust the position of the F3 drawing so that it matches up with the F1 drawing. Now we can use the F3 drawing for reference and make adjustments when necessary. For example, the eyes for F1 are more compressed than F3, and I will adjust the drawing to reflect that. Alright, moving on to F2, it is an in-between reference drawing, also known as a breakdown as indicated by the triangle, meaning we don't have to draw all of it. It is essentially an in-between guided drawing where the eyes are closed and the hair is slightly compressed. Looking at the timing diagram on F3, we can see that it is halfway between F1 and F3. For this, we can turn on the onion skin and draw F2 almost as if it is an in-between. We can use the light table feature here as well, as it will make drawing the hair much easier. Drag the F3 folder into the light table, align it, and use it as reference. Here we can redraw the hair, but at a much more squashed position. Also, I noticed that in the original rough drawing, I drew the eyebrows too low, so I shifted those up a bit. The eyebrows don't actually move that much when we blink. Since F2 is an in-between reference drawing, I left some parts for the Doga animator to finish. Here I leave a note for the body, Hoka Nakawari, telling them to treat that area as an in-between. Moving on to F4, it is essentially just the hair of the F3 drawing settling. The rest of the face is essentially being copied and pasted into F4 from F3 during compositing. This one should be pretty easy. Turn on the onion skin and start drawing that hair, but just a little more fanned out from the F3 drawing. Make sure to match the shading and highlights as well on another layer. And don't forget to label the drawing and the timing diagram, as well as a note for the cell painter to copy the other parts of the drawing, Hoka Gosei. To finish, let's shade everything in. I like to do this on the layer below as it makes it easier to change if needed in the future. Take some time to look through the drawings, flipping through them, and try to fix any errors and issues that come up. It takes real skill to draw high quality Genga. We can then export our scene. Clip Studio Paint makes this pretty easy. You can just go to Export Animation, Export Animation Cells, and use My Settings. Make sure that the file name is animation folder plus number, the format is JPEG, and that the option for export layers not in animation folder is selected. Select the export folder and it creates a bunch of JPEGs all numbered correctly that you can submit. Getting Genga work, which is often called second key animation or Daini Genga when you draw Genga for someone else's rough animation, is a great way to get into the industry. And again, I recommend you take a look at the original Genga video. There is often a need for people to draw Genga as the amount of productions in Japan exploded recently. I spoke about the basics of getting Genga work in the original Genga video a couple of years ago, and most of the basics are still the same. You still need a solid portfolio and you need to show strong basic drawing and drafting skills. Show off personal work and create a 1-minute reel on your X or other social media you use. Find these guys, the production assistants or seisakshunko, and the producers that work in the industry. Follow them on X and send them a message when you are looking for Daini Genga work, in English if you can't write Japanese, as well as a link to your reel. If you follow enough people on X in the industry, people will often retweet when there is an open call for artists and animators for a specific production. Be sure to respond to those as well. My advice is to network. Find other animators, join animators' Discord channels as they often share job openings and help each other. And I want to say, if you are an experienced animator in the industry, help out the new artists. It often takes one foreign animator producing problematic work that turns off the director from looking for other foreign animators for their productions. I'm saying your ass might be on the line if you don't help the newbies. Anyways, that's it for today. I wish the best of luck in your journey. This channel is supported by my Patreon and now YouTube members starting today, and I am very lucky to have your support. If you would like to help the channel, links are down below. Members get some extra content every month. This month is a companion video with a full time-lapse style cuts of me drawing the Genga for this scene, and I think it should be good towards your education. Membership is also the easiest way for you to ask me questions on this platform. Patreon and YouTube will have the same content in them, so you can support the channel on either. Anyways, check me out on social media for various other content, and I'll see you next time.